I want to just talk to you for a minute about reading your data plate, because there are times that people get confused in trying to work out what is the overall capacity this forklift is allowed to lift. And it really just comes down to two things: how heavy is the load and how long is the load. Don't worry about the width of the load, the height of the load. The data plate might tell you all of those things. But what you really want to know is this load too heavy, and is the load too long? To know whether it's too heavy, you look at where the data plate tells you the capacity or the safe working load for this forklift. It might be 2,100 kilograms. It might be 5,000 kilograms. On a big forklift, it might be 30,000 kilograms. Well, it doesn't matter. That's telling you what the maximum weight is that it's allowed to lift. The second thing you're looking for isn't the width or the height of the load, it's the length of the load. How far does this load stretch out in front of the forklift? We need to know how long the load is. So if you were picking up a shipping container with a big forklift, and the shipping container is 2,400 millimeters, 2.4 meters, stretching out in front of the forklift, then divide it by 2. 2,400 divided by 2 is 1,200. And 1,200 would be the load center distance on that load. But if your forklift on the load center distance on the data plate tells you the maximum is 900, well, then you can't move that load. The load center distance is too long. And so the two questions again that we need to ask: is this load too heavy? And is this load too long? Does it stretch too far out the front of the forklift? If either of those questions is yes, it's too heavy, or yes, it's too long, you cannot move that load. So let's have a look at an actual data plate and see what it tells us. In this data plate, you can see the maximum capacity is 7,000 kilograms. That's the maximum this forklift is allowed to lift, 7,000 kilograms. If you go over a little further, you'll see it says load center. And we need to know which of these load centers we can read. Do we read dim B, 900 millimeters, or dim C? Well, look at the little drawing just beside the data plate, and you'll see where there's a little B between arrows and a little C between arrows lined up against the actual load on the forklift. Remember, the load center distance is how far does the load stretch out the front of the forklift, not how high it is, not how wide it is, just how far does it stretch out the front, how long is it? That would be dimension B. And so it tells us that the maximum this forklift can lift is a load center distance of 900, or a total crate length of 1,800. 1,800 divided by 2 gives you the load center, 900. So if we look down to the questions, you'll see there's a container, like a shipping container, weighs 2,700 kilograms when it's empty. And then there's a load, let's say a forklift, inside the shipping container that weighs 6,200 kilograms. So we need to calculate how heavy is the total weight of this load. That would be 2,700 kilograms plus 6,200 kilograms equals 8,900 kilograms. We look at the data plate and we see our maximum capacity is 7,000 kilograms. So therefore, this load is too heavy. We cannot move it. If we look at the next load, it tells us there's a pallet that is 1,185 millimeters long, 1,185 millimeters wide, and it's 1,500 high. Now remember, we don't need to give any thought to the width of the load or the height. The only part that matters to us is the length. How far does this load stretch out the front of the forklift? And that would be 1,185 millimeters. But we need to get the center. So 1,185 divided by 2 to get the center gives us 592.5. That would be our load center distance. When we check the data plate again, we see that our allowable load center distance is 900. And so 592.5 is within capacity. And also on this load, the weight is 4,500 kilograms, but we're allowed 7,000 kilograms. And so therefore, this load is definitely movable. It's not too heavy and it's not too long. Therefore, Yes, we can move this load because it's within capacity.